Filipino food in LA captures a wide array of flavors, representing a unique culture with a diverse history in their cuisine. Welcome to Culinary Cultures with SaucyTV. This story is inspired by two childhood friends from the Philippines who moved to LA, opening the first Filipino food truck and eventually becoming the award-winning Spoon and Pork, proudly representing their culture of both worlds through their menu. From LA Times to New York Times and Michelin recognition, this has become a staple of Filipino comfort, all made with flavors from a food truck.
So this is actually what really made us famous. So it's called a Patata because it means little foot. Town of Pampanga, that is like that province. They say it's like the culinary capital of the Philippines.
Oh wow.
So this one, parts of the pork that they didn't want, they didn't eat the whole face, handed the cage. Filipinos would buy them for so cheap and then make like tasty dishes out of it. Crispy patata was born out of that. Also the sisig. So cheap cuts of meat. So we would make it tasty.
The chef wasn't kidding, with the heat coming through on every single dish he was cooking.
Yep. So this one is actually inspired by like brain fried chicken. So we do like a chili vinegar garlic glaze on it. Thai barbecue chicken. So it has like Thai Korean influences. So pretty much crispy patata, just like that. A deep fried pork chicken, and then it's served with like a vinegar sauce. So it's pretty much the same everywhere around. We had to make ours different.
Your different take is
basically doing the glaze for it. So this is actually what really made us famous, because nobody else is doing this dish. This is our take on our crispy patata. So it's called a Patata because it means little foot. In the Philippines, this is a bigger version. This is the foot. This is this version here. In the Philippines, they serve everything, including the knuckle. So this is like a smaller version. See, a bigger one. That's why we named it Patata, little foot.
And when you say this is what puts you on the map, this is the
This is
awards
what
like,
we're known for. This is pretty unique and it's pretty special.
As the morning kicks off, front of house starts setting up the restaurant while chef starts loading ingredients and supplies into the kitchen, getting his space and station organized for the day. Once set up, I go and join chef in the back.
Sorry, it's a little tight. Tuesday, it's our prep day, so.
all good, chef. All good.
Chef Francisco.
Pleasure to meet you, Francisco. Thank you very much, man.
Started as a dishwasher here, and now he's like my lead guy.
Am I correct? Did y'all close during the pandemic?
We closed the whole story. We opened in summer 2019. Things were going real great. We started slow. We were a food truck in 2017. Opened our first brick-and-mortar in 2019. Opened summer. We got reviewed by LA Times. That was really awesome. Just a little background, we've never worked in a restaurant, never worked in any kitchen aside from our food truck. So basically, we had to learn everything ourselves. Like, you know, usually January, February, things started to slow down. And then March, I remember that week so clear. That's when NBA got canceled, and then Tom Hanks got COVID, and then everybody's like, okay, it's real. I was like, okay, we'll close down Sunday. Sunday happened. After we talked to our staff, all of a sudden the mayor says, stay in place. So shut down. Sorry, Pancho, can you pass me the ribs? We start doing takeout. We did our little bubble here. Me and him went back to work. We're like, oh, everything is great. We can do this. A month right after, all of a sudden it just died. Because I guess, you know, everybody was like, oh, stay out. So what do we do now? We were like, all right, let's start doing delivery too. After service, we would do our own delivery, drop it off at customers' houses. And then, you know, that eventually worked. We had like intercom style, kind of like a drive-through. Before I opened the door, I would say, hey, please step back 6 feet. And then, yeah, things like, you know, eventually start picking up a little bit here and there. And then we were like, okay, great. July 2021 is when we actually officially reopened.
It's a huge pause in the journey then. Kicked it off and essentially had to put on pause for a year.
Yes, but we were fortunate enough that, you know, the food truck kind of like trained us on what to do. And this is our pork belly nigiri. This started in the food truck. The Patata was from the food truck. Essentially, we have a lot of stuff that actually stayed from the food truck. Now, we're just trying to survive.
Imagine getting dishes like this out of a food truck. Then chef hits me with,
Oh, no nigiri.
a dish representing the beauty of both worlds and an OG staple, the crispy pork belly nigiri with adobo sauce. So where does the inspiration come from?
Me and Jay were actually from Manila. So these are pretty much like essentially flavors that we grew up on. So we're like childhood friends. Our moms, they were flight attendants, Philippine Airlines. So that is how we met. So I've known the guy, he's like a brother.
I honestly thought y'all were brothers. That's good. That's
Everybody thinks we are. Yeah, we grew up there. We moved here right after college, but we've always wanted to share our food and our culture. Because, 80% of restaurants do not survive. We do a food truck. If it doesn't work out, we'll just sell the food truck. At least we don't have a lease.
so you really thought it through with that safety net.
Yes.
So what makes it special for Chef?
Here in the States, Filipinos are like the second largest Asian immigrants. But I feel like our food isn't represented well enough. So our goal was really to have, just to be part of the conversation. People think of, hey, let's eat out today. Well, let's order in. Think Asian cuisine, Chinese, Japanese, Thai, Korean. Filipinos never had that conversation. That's what we wanted to do. Filipinos, this is our food, it's pretty awesome. Especially our cuisine. It is kind of like one of the original fusion cuisines because we've been colonized by Americans, Chinese, so all these influences. I honestly think the reason why it's really broken through is, I guess it's the mentality where we'd like to assimilate. So just try to blend in and be part of their culture. It's like eat their food. They're also kind of embarrassed of how our food really looks like. We're a very poor country, so most of our food is made with like offcuts of meat, all the cheap stuff. So a lot of braising, a lot of stews. So after it's all said and done, it doesn't look as pretty, but it's really delicious. Chicken chicharron. Thank you, Chef. Yeah, that's bring our cuisine out there for people to know what Filipino food is.
A plate capturing the Angelino spirit of Chef. Delicious crunchy chicken chicharron.
Normally when people think of Filipino food, they always think of like chicken adobo, lumpia, pancit. It goes way beyond that. We have like over 7,000 islands here. Always good to see you, man. How's everything?
Chef's pride comes through his cooking, his connection, and representing his culture by expanding what people know about Filipino cuisine, inspired by his childhood and community.
Always good to see you. So this is our shroom. This is for you too. So shroom, salpicao. Normally this is done with like steak in the Philippines.
Oh wow.
So we do ours with like mushrooms. So it's like oyster sauce, butter, garlic. Very good. One of my favorite things.
Thank you very much, Chef.
You are welcome. As you can see, this isn't the biggest kitchen. So,
Yeah.
which I kind of like. One person could really just run the whole line. So how it's set up, it's like everything, one flow from here to there. So absolutely.
And I understood immediately why this is one of Chef's favorites, the deliciously flavorful Shrooms Salpicao.
What do you feel like is the most misunderstood thing about Filipino cuisine?
Filipino food, you always think it's like heavy, greasy, not healthy.
How would you describe Filipino food then?
It's actually very diverse, man. Like so many flavors. Pretty much have whatever you want. We actually have whatever you're craving. Almost like over 300 years. Americans for like 50 years. Japanese things. Pretty close to Malaysia. Chinese cuisine. We have one of the oldest, the oldest Chinatown in the world. It's over 400 years old. I even part Chinese as well. So a lot of Chinese influence in our cuisine.
I don't think people understand how colorful Filipino food truly is, right?
It is very cool.
The way Chef Ray and Chef Jay approached their business was to adapt and not react. They knew what they wanted to represent, cooking for both old and new communities alike, all without training, being chefs, or anything holding them back.
You've had a very thoughtful approach to your restaurant. People can sometimes run before they walk in this business, is that fair to say?
A lot of kids especially, they want to get into cooking, restaurant, and end up, they do the whole culinary school route. I honestly don't advise that. I'd rather just go work in the kitchen right away, see if it's for you. From there, want to push through that, start doing culinary, but pretty much anything you need to learn, you can learn it at a kitchen. We've had like a lot of like graduates from like culinary school. If you look at things, we never had like a formal training or anything. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we try. So we kind of like don't follow any rules. Who says this has to be done that way? That has to be done that way. Living in LA is one of the greatest like food cities in the world. At a stone throw away, you can have any cuisine. Like you don't have to leave the country. Whatever you can think of, it's here. And in California, our access to produce is pretty amazing. We're pretty lucky in that regard. They think we're like making money, but restaurants are actually one of the lowest margin business you could ever get into. Absolutely. This is our Kare Kare. peanut-based stew, short rib. We do like our bagoong XO. It's like a fermented shrimp paste. We kind of took that and then XO, dried scallops. We do like fermented beef. Pork, there's like a lot of umami. So what we do is this is kind of like a salt. So essentially mix everything up and then put it in your plate. With every bite, try to get a small bite of like bagoong. Thank you very much, Jonathan.
The beauty of a true Filipino staple, Kare Kare with roasted short rib and a delicious peanut sauce topped with crispy peanut butter.
It's like the moment you just had with that customer. Those are probably just have to your point, how your version of Filipino food is still being receptive like that, right?
It's very hard to compete with. Everybody always has to compare your food with their mom or their grandma. And I always felt like, of course I'll never be as good as your mom and your grandma because it's what you grew up with. That's why, I really don't like the word authenticity. It varies, like, in the Philippines, adobo, we have 7,000 islands. We could be right next to each other and your family's adobo would be so different to mine. And who am I to say that your adobo is not authentic? Yeah. It's authentic to you, it's what you grew up with. So just enjoy it for what it is, A lot of people say, oh, your food's not authentic, it's not traditional. I'm not trying to be your grandma or your mom. This is my take on it. This is our version of adobo. We think it's good, so we're like, just enjoy it for what it is. That's why I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to compete with your grandma or your mom. All good? Yes. Awesome, thing.
No, thank you.
All for them. So yes, thank you.
Now it's time to enjoy Chef's creations.
All right, my friend. Going over your table.
I'll follow your lead.
All right, Patata.
With the last plate down, we can appreciate the beauty of every single dish, with each plated uniquely and appetizing an audience instantly. I get settled and I open up with Chef's signature pork belly nigiri, served on a beautiful bed of crispy rice with adobo sauce. Appreciating the fact that this is one of the first things Chef Jay and Ray created, where that pork belly comes together as a perfect bite. Bringing us to the crispy chicken chicharron, the ultimate blend of the Filipino and Angelino cultures combined for that ultimate crunch. With the crispiest bite set, now it's for one of the sauciest bites of the day, the shroom salpicao, where Chef said was one of his personal favorites, and after one single bite of it, I understood immediately why. Sleeper of the day. Following up at last with the Filipino classic, Kare Kare, roasted short rib served with peanut sauce, roasted veggies, and peanut brittle, where every component tastes damn good on its own, because how tender is that short rib? Just see for yourself. Ooh. All complemented with a side of house-made bagoong XO, where the heat and punch hits just right, with each component making it that much better, and again, finger-licking good. Oh my God. Each bite just got tastier and tastier, all led by the short ribs that just melts in your mouth.
Thank you very much. Of course.
And now at last for the grand finale, the crispy patita. A slow-cooked deep-fried pork shank served with a chili garlic glaze. We grabbed a Filipino staple, Red Horse beer, to complement the dish, and just appreciated that beautiful view. Chef said this dish put them on the map, and it took one bite to understand why. As I wrapped up eating, turns out the food inspector came by as I was shooting. Between setting up, food prep, the cooking, and taking orders, the team always has to perform with complete excellence because you never know who's going to stop by. Two childhood friends started a food truck all to represent their culture, and without any training or experience, they survived. Now, with an award-winning restaurant and multiple locations, Spoon and Pork is a special place with special people, which is the Filipino way. I appreciate Chef and the team to let me come by and tell their story. Until next time, salamat po.
So Spoon and Pork is a modern Filipino truck. It's our take on Filipino food. It's a more playful take on Filipino dishes.
We also use the name because in the Philippines, people usually use the P to pronounce fork instead of, the traditional, the real way, fork, so it's Spoon and Pork.